Thank you so much for waiting. How can I help you?
Hi, can I just get two grande strawberry acai refreshers?
All right, we'll see you in the corner.
Listen, I'm not about to tell you that you need to cut out your, daily Starbucks in order to completely change your financial success, your financial life, your financial future. You probably have a stressful job like most people. You may or may not look forward to your Starbucks drink every single day, and that's totally okay. Like I said, I'm not about to tell you to completely cut this out if you want to change your life. But I will start by saying this. If you do want to change your financial life, you do want to set yourself up for a wealthy future, you are going to have to get comfortable with taking a look at your finances and understanding better where your money is going every single month. So obviously I'm kind of talking about budgeting here. It may not be that you spend too much on Starbucks, but maybe it's that when you crunch the numbers, you tally it all up, you realize you're actually spending a lot of money on clothes shopping or going out to eat. And in order to change your financial future to set yourself up for success, you have to truly understand where your money is going every single month. For my husband and I, it wasn't until I sat down, looked at our bank account over the span of multiple months and tallied up where all of our money was going into different things like groceries, going out to eat, expenses, things like that, that I learned actually how much we were spending on, of all things, groceries. For two people, it was insane. It was way too much money. Like, I was a little bit disgusted. I was kind of like, how are we spending so much money on groceries? And that set a change as far as how we thought about our grocery shopping. No more frivolous Costco runs, starting to shop at, more affordable grocery stores, as well as doing things like meal planning and sticking to the meal plan whenever we decide what we're eating for the week. And it wasn't until I actually sat down, did the exercise of tallying up all of our expenses, where we were spending too much, that I was able to actually identify where we could pull back in certain areas and then reallocate that money into our savings account, and therefore set us up for a better financial future. So that's my first kind of money habit for you guys. Take a deep look at your finances over the span of several months so that you can see, some trends, some fluctuations, see where you're probably overspending on a regular basis, to be able to identify those spots where you can cut back and then reallocate that money into savings. And that's going to lead me into my next tip. But I'm just sitting here talking to you guys in the Starbucks/Burger King parking lot. So let's head home and we will chat some more. All right, so now that I'm back home, let's chat a little bit more. And by the way, I've got my Starbucks strawberry acai lemonade refresher because, no caffeine because pregnancy. Well, limited caffeine, I should say. But this is one of my favorite non-caffeinated drinks. So if you've never had it, it's so good. Anyways, so once you've taken a look at your bank account, tallied up all of your spending, and hopefully identified where you might be able to cut back, you'll want to start adopting this habit that I learned from a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. By the way, if you haven't read that book and you want to be a little bit more knowledgeable in finance, financial wellness, have better financial literacy, I highly recommend checking out that book. It really changed my life and my perspective on how I think about money and using money to kind of make me more money, essentially. But in this book, they talk a lot about this theory called paying yourself first. And what this means is whenever you get your paycheck from your 9 to 5 or whatever other kind of earned income you have, before you do anything like paying your bills or spending money on fun things, you save, you invest, you do anything where it's going to be setting you up for financial success in the long run. Spoiler, we're going to talk about investments in just a second. But the truth is that this is a critical step for creating financial freedom for your future. The reality is, and maybe I'm just speaking for myself here, so correct me if I'm wrong, but if you have an extra $500 in your bank account, you might be really tempted to go out and spend it on some new clothes or go out to a fancy dinner or go spend it on sort of entertainment or I don't know, whatever you like to buy, new shoes, whatever. It could be anything. But if you see that you have extra money, you're going to be really tempted to spend it. Instead, if you take that extra $500, let's say that you identified from the previous habit, previous step, that you can cut back on your grocery spending, and you put that into savings or something else that's going to actually save you money in the long run, you not only won't be as tempted to spend it, but you really are going to be setting yourself up for a successful financial future. So just get in the habit of paying yourself first. You see that paycheck hit your bank account, automatically transfer money over to your savings. And in the long run, this will truly change your life and create financial freedom. Now, as I just alluded to, I strongly recommend taking this extra money that you've identified from your budget, you're pulling it out of your checking account first thing right after you get paid, and start putting it into an asset. This means that it's something that is creating money for you, creating more money from the money that you're putting it in to snowball and therefore create long-term wealth. The national average for a savings rate is 0.46% according to the FDIC. So that is not very much money. In fact, if I look at my personal savings account, I think Chris and I are only earning like $5 or $6 every single month. That's pretty typical for, a bank savings account. But we also have have things like a high yield savings account, which earns us more like 5%. Therefore, we're making like $100 to $150 a month, which is a very big difference. We also have things like investments. We have index funds, dividend stocks, things like that, that are assets that are creating us more money and helping us kind of snowball our wealth over time. There's tons of different ways to invest your money in different assets. So there's things like real estate, the things that I just mentioned, like high yield savings, index funds, dividend stocks. Of course, there's also things like bonds and CDs and rental property income. Honestly, the list is quite long, so I highly recommend just kind of doing your own research and figuring out what is best and easiest for you. But if I could just go back in time and give myself one small piece of advice, it would be this one, which is start taking this extra money and putting it into an asset that will grow over time. I will say it is important to have, a cash emergency fund. That's why Chris and I do have a chunk of money in standard savings account that's tied to our checking. It's not earning very much interest, but it's there so that we can quickly, like within minutes, have money in our checking account if an emergency were to arise. So set aside money for your emergency fund, in case of an emergency. But once you have that money set aside, start putting your extra money into an asset that will help you build wealth over time. I just want to provide an example of one of these assets. I've showed you guys on my channel before about stocks and how those can grow over time, but one thing that I haven't really talked about is dividends, and something that I am really passionate about. I find really, really exciting and interesting, and so I just want to show you guys a quick example of how dividend stocks can really set you up for financial freedom in the long run. So I just quickly Googled high yield dividend stocks, and this article from NerdWallet popped up. These are just some examples of companies that have a high percentage yield for their dividends. Obviously, do your own research, look into each of these companies, because you don't want to be putting thousands and thousands of dollars into a company that is going to go under. But this is just an example of how you could just kind of start looking into dividend stocks. And by the way, there's YouTubers out there that just talk about dividend investing or dividend investment strategies, so you can always just search on YouTube for recommendations. But personally, I actually have a decent amount of money invested in realty income. So this stock is about $55 a share. You can scroll down on Robinhood and see what the dividend yield is right here, 5.54%. And again, I would just do some research to see when these dividends are paid out. This one happens to be monthly, and you can see down here that I am actually making $25 a month basically right now from having about $5,000, or let's see, I have about almost $5,500 invested in this dividend stock. Obviously $25 a month isn't very much, but over time this could really grow and scale, and so I just want to show you how big it could be. So I found this dividend calculator. I've actually seen it from some other YouTubers that are interested in dividend investing. So let's go individual stock. I own roughly 100 shares of this company. The annual dividend yield, as I was just saying, was 5.54%. They're paid out monthly. The share price is currently about $54.97. I'm just gonna put $55 for simplicity. This is pretty standard, so I'm just gonna leave this as 3% strip. Yes, this means I'm going to reinvest the dividend income that I get from the stock to help it snowball and grow over time. Let's say my annual contribution, let's say we come up with an extra $100 a month that we can be investing, and so that over the span of a year is $1,200. This stock has not grown much, or it's down 3.8%, so I'm just gonna say it's gonna be flat forever. Dividend tax rate 15%, that is standard in years invested. Let's go ahead and say 30, because again, I'm 30 years old and we wanna talk about things that us 30-year-olds can do to set us up for success in the long run. So I'm gonna go calculate dividends. And down here we can see the biggest thing here is the annual dividend income. So at the end of 30 years, I would essentially be making almost $30,000 from my dividend income, which split out per month could be about $2,000 a month. So we're talking about taking $100 extra per month out of your life from grocery spending, clothes shopping, going out to eat, and putting it into a high yield dividend stock and letting it reinvest and snowball. I personally think that that's pretty easy to do. I don't know, but do what's reasonable and realistic for you. I just think this has such a big impact over time. And just out of curiosity, let's say you have $200, so that would be $2,400 in an annual contribution. Now we're talking $51,000 per year that you would be pulling in dividend income. So just for reference, that's a little over $4,000 a month at the end of 30 years that you could have as livable income. You've retired. You don't have to rely 100% on the government for your 401k. You also have an extra like $4,000 a month from your dividend income. So anyway, that was a very long-winded explanation, but I feel very strongly about investing your money into assets, into things that are going to set you up for financial success, financial freedom in the long run. But anyways, enough chit chat. I have a lot of editing to do, so I'm gonna focus on that for a while. Then we will talk about the final 2 habits that have changed my life to help set me up for financial freedom. obviously I am a YouTuber, as you guys know. And I have to say, one of the most important financial lessons that I've learned in the last year and a half is that you are just a number to the company you work for. You are 1000% disposable to them. And even though my YouTube channel is still quite small, I personally think that starting a side hustle for myself, starting a side business was one of the best decisions I could have ever made for myself for my future. Learning the importance of multiple income streams is something that has set me up to continue to build wealth and to set myself up to have financial freedom in the long run. If you look at your budget and you don't see any space to pull back on any of your spending, you're already being as frugal as you can possibly be, then starting a side hustle is a great way to start creating that extra $100 or $200 a month. And I know that starting a YouTube channel is not for everyone, although if you're interested in starting a YouTube channel, just shameless plug real quick, I have made other videos on my channel about how much YouTube has paid me. So if you're looking for, is it even worth, an extra couple $100 a month? Can I even make that much today in 2024? Go watch one of those videos. And if you do want to get started on a YouTube channel, I've also made videos about my exact process and recommendations to get started on a YouTube channel. It doesn't have to cost you money. It can be free with the things that you already have. So go check out one of those videos as well if you're curious about actually getting started. And I've also made videos on my channel about various different side hustles. One that I have to just shout out really quick is Rover. I have made hundreds of dollars per month just dog sitting for people. If you have a yard, if you have space, and if you work from home, dog sitting is a really easy one. I was making anywhere from $200 to $500 a month when I was doing Rover pretty consistently. So that's just one example. It doesn't have to be a YouTube channel. There's tons of different things you can do out there to start generating extra income for yourself. But the point is that it wasn't until I actually understood that I'm always going to be disposable to a company. It doesn't matter how long you're at the company. It doesn't matter how high up you are. If they need to cut back on people, then you never know what criteria they could be using to decide who stays and who goes. So I think ultimately just understand that creating multiple income streams for yourself not only sets you up for a little bit of insurance if you ever got laid off, but it can also be that extra $100, $200, $300, $400, $500 a month that you're then using to pay yourself to build up those assets and create that snowball effect of, dividend investing, high yield savings accounts, etc. And that will ultimately set you up for financial freedom. This was something I wish I knew forever ago. I wish I had started my YouTube channel years ago when I was still working a 9-to-5, because I think it would have been so much bigger by now. But like I always say, there's no time like the present to get started. Even if you're in your 30s, you can start a YouTube channel, you can start different side hustles. So just start. I'm just about done working for the day, which means it's time to relax on the couch for the rest of the evening. Pregnancy bump requires a little bit of relaxation, feet up on the couch. So I just wanted to share kind of my final thing that I wish I knew in my 20s that I would tell myself if I could go back in time, and that I think you can take advantage of in your 30s. And so for this, I actually want to talk about credit cards. So this is one thing that I just was naive about when I was growing up, when I had my first credit card. I don't think I opened my first credit card until I was, 21 or something. What I didn't know about credit cards and where I got kind of overwhelmed and in debt was because I wasn't paying off my credit card every single month. I think I knew that that's what you're supposed to do. That's like the best thing to do. But I got into a point where I was not living below my means. I was living above my means. I was putting way too much money on my credit card and I wasn't able to pay it off each month, which ultimately led to credit card debt. So the first thing I want to say about credit cards is only open one if you're able to make yourself pay it off every single month. Chris and I use our credit card for expenses that we were going to buy anyway, things like groceries, our Amazon shopping, and then if there's any other bigger expenses like the vet bill, taking Doodle to the groomer, buying gas, stuff we were going to buy anyway that's already factored into our budget. But the second thing that I wanted to say about credit cards that I wish I had taken advantage of so much younger is credit cards that have bonus points, redemptions, miles, things like that. So right now, Chris and I have the Capital One Venture X card, and it's really good for travel, I would say. We personally want to use this card to have more travel benefits. We want to book an international trip that will be free, and we both want to hopefully fly maybe business class or something like that. So right now we are saving up our miles. Hopefully soon we will definitely be able to book that trip using miles, but this is just a way that you can kind of set yourself up for success financially. Like, you can live a more luxurious life if you're taking advantage of different reward programs. So I think credit cards are just a common example. It's something that I personally really like to use. I really love our credit card. A lot of these credit card companies have benefits that will help you live a more luxurious lifestyle that you wouldn't be able to do if you were just using cash for everything. Now again, I have to reiterate that you should only do this if you have the funds to pay off your credit card every single month. Chris and I always carry a zero balance month over month. We pay it off every single month, but this is a way that we're able to do things that we really love, like flying, going on trips, living a more luxurious lifestyle, and feeling like we have a little bit more financial freedom by taking advantage of rewards programs. So that was kind of a different tip for you guys. I think that a lot of people don't know about credit cards rewards programs and how they can actually benefit you. I know a lot of people swear by, you know, cash and living off your debit card, which I also think has a lot of benefits, especially if you really need to be like super strict with your budget. But if you're able to, you know, keep control of your credit card spending, then I think getting a credit card with really good perks and benefits is a really good way to like set yourself up for a really awesome financial future. But you guys, that is kind of all I wanted to share with you today. I feel like there's so many tips that I wish that I knew, habits that I wish that I knew when I was 20 years old, but now that I'm 30, I again feel like there's no time like the present to get started doing these things, looking at your budget, saving, investing, taking advantage of rewards programs and things like that to set yourself up for a stronger financial future, to live a more luxurious lifestyle, and to have financial freedom, be able to retire early and all of those things. So if you did find this video useful, make sure you give it a thumbs up and let me know if you guys like these money saving tips, money habits, hacks, things like that. And I think that's pretty much it. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch up with you next time.